This is the Leadership Podcast with Cameron Pieters that goes beyond leadership and personal growth. All right, in the studios with me today is Kenny Dupree II, my special guest on our Leadership Podcast series. Kenny, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing there,
I'm doing...
Mr. Cameron Pieters?
Oh, man, I am doing fantastic. I'll tell you what, I'm living my best life. And I'm just excited to have you on the podcast with us today.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, you know, I have a lot of listeners out there. Well, I don't know if it's a lot, but I have some listeners out there that are interested in you and what it is that you're doing. And I want you to kind of just start off and tell us, there's some listeners out there that don't know you. So tell us a little bit about your background, where you came from. Just give us a little bit on that.
Absolutely. My name is Kenny Dupree, and born and raised in Reno, Nevada. Even though I was born and raised in Reno, Nevada, I probably have more Southern features in me than anything else, just because of the household that I grew up in. But one of the things I would say is, after graduating from high school, it took 2 years for me to get smart and actually really start my career. And at that point, I joined the Nevada National Guard, and in particular the Nevada Air National Guard, which I did 22 years in, retired AGR, active duty. And that was one of the best decisions of my life, having a child at the age of 17 years old and getting married a little later on in my life, having 4 kids right now, boy, girl, to a beautiful wife, Leah Dupree. I have 4 kids, the third, Kenny the third, Kalea, Kizea, and Kyla.
That deserves an applause right there. Yes, 4 kids.
Yes, yes. But, you know, just growing up in a tight-knit community and having a pretty large family, growing up real close in a tight-knit family, the one thing I would say is I believe what we're going to be discussing today, if I would have had that knowledge back then, especially when I was working 2 jobs, and there was even a period where I worked 3 jobs, I would be so far ahead of the game. And with the knowledge that I've been given on the topic that we'll talk about today, I just want to be able to share that with other people before they are getting out on life and starting their own careers and preparing for families, or even if they're like myself and start a family a little young, there's still time for them to be able to secure their future and be prepared for whatever comes their way. You know, it's kind of that avoiding the Murphy's Law.
Yeah, I like that. You know, you're talking about the things that we're going to talk about today, and I kind of want to jump into that because there's a lot of excitement going on. I know that, again, you spent 22 years in the military. Thank you for your service. You've transitioned over into the federal government and have a technician job there, continue to move forward and helping elevate the Nevada National Guard. Just because you've retired militarily, you still continue to help make the Nevada National Guard great. But one of the things that you're now working on is becoming a financial professional and helping others understand some of the pitfalls. So currently, let's talk about that. Like, what is it that you're trying to achieve in helping other people come out ahead financially?
Sure. One of the things that I think is important is really just preparing yourself for any type of life-changing events that would happen in the future, whether it be an injury, whether it be a disability, whether it be death, God forbid, but these are things that happen within life. How are we prepared for those things? And what are we doing to be prepared for those things? And so I think that there is some values that we have that we can add into people's lives that will prepare them so when those things happen, there's already a plan in action and in place that could take care of those things and take burdens off of people where they're not thinking about the money portion, but they're able to concentrate on the other things as those things happen.
You bring up a great point. A lot of times people don't know they have a problem until they're faced with a problem, right? And
Absolutely.
we were talking a little bit before we started, and you were talking about how a lot of times people find themselves in a difficult situation and they have to go to a GoFundMe account. Whereas if they had somebody, a financial educator, a financial professional, teach them some strategies, they wouldn't have to go with that. So, talk us through a little bit of that.
Absolutely. Uh, I think the biggest thing with that is the fact that we don't have the education that's easy to get access to be able to know what opportunities are out there so that you can prepare yourself. And a lot of times it's hard for us to just put $50 away, but we'll spend $100 on entertainment a month in different fashion, whether it's going to the movie or something like that. And sometimes we just don't think about how do we make the money last? How do we make the money count? And then there's times where we're passing by and we might even see a young person with a brand new car, not realizing that there was a family that took care of that when that child was born or when they were younger and they were able to pull money out of a insurance account or whatever that may be policy wise and be able to uh, purchase that car, no monthly payments, and that's a gift when they're in college or when they start life. They don't even have to worry about that. So how do we prepare ourselves for the future and get ahead where we're not trying to figure out, oh, how do we do this, how we do that, we got to pay for this, we got to pay for that, oh, we got to get this job, we got to get that job, and trying to just do so much at one time.
Yeah. You know, we sit down in our financial professional business with potential clients and we collect information, we collect data, and we make recommendations for them. We take that holistic approach and we don't charge a fee for clients if we sit down and collect information and make a recommendation. And the reason I find that is so powerful is because, again, we're educating them on different uh, strategies
So
and
true.
different products that are out there. You know, we've learned that it's not taught in schools. Most schools don't teach financial literacy. So people grow up and they make mistakes because it's not taught in schools. You know, two of the biggest concerns that people have today are the rising cost of healthcare and running out of money in retirement, along with, again, not being able to cover the cost of a transmission going out in the car, the hot water heater in the house. Give us your thoughts on that. I mean, people that you know, challenges that maybe they are facing with. Let's talk a little bit about that.
And so these are some great points right here because I think one of the things that, especially, and I'm just going to make this a little personal to me, coming and growing up in a black family from a black community, we are taught off of watching other people because there was no conversation on you should do this, you should do that financially. It was just more of you save money and whatever comes in, you just make sure you don't spend more than that. But that just really gets you by month to month. Like, how do you really save money or how do you take care of yourself so that if something happens in the future, for instance, you mentioned the rising cost of healthcare. So we know if we're working and we get a good job and there's health benefits with that, then you just pay whatever the minimum is. But what happens if you have something huge happen like cancer or something like that where
Yeah.
you got to actually pay for surgeries and operations and things that's of a large magnitude that you're not thinking about? And a lot of us don't even go to the hospital. Like if you get sick or whatever, we just don't go. We find home remedies to take care of things, and then we end up getting worse to where we can't afford to get away from those big operations and surgeries and those different type of things. And then we don't have the money to do that. And so that's where the GoFundMe account, or we go to family members and friends and ask for money. But how do we take care of those things before they happen? Even if they don't happen, at least you have a peace of mind knowing that you're prepared for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize is when it comes to certain life insurance policies, they have riders on them, such as a critical illness rider or a chronic illness rider, which means that if a client is diagnosed with something critical or chronic, they actually have access to that death benefit while they're still alive to handle those critical and those chronic issues. So a lot of people don't know that that's available. Some of the people that you grew up with, some of the people that run in your circle, they don't know that. So sitting down with them and educating them is so important. And that's why, what are some of the specifics that you can help people with?
I think part of that goes back to what we had touched on before. More you did, I didn't, which was that retirement. One of the major questions you asked me that it really stopped me in my tracks, and it actually within this year is now something that I'm focusing on as one of my goals, and that is when I'm ready to retire, what type of lifestyle do I want to have?
Mm.
Do I want to maintain the lifestyle that I'm continuing to have now, or am I ready for the change? Because when people retire, the money that comes in is not going to be as much as when you were working. And so when you see people that say, I've retired, and then 6 months later they pick up a part-time job or they pick up another job, it's because what they thought they were able to live off of is not necessarily true. And they're used to a certain lifestyle. And when you have to downsize that lifestyle, there's a lot that goes into it. And that's a big mental challenge if you're not ready and disciplined for that. So how are we able to help people out in the retirement side? And when you were touching on that with me, it really was a light bulb to say, I want to really help people in that area too.
Yeah, the thing is that, we've talked about in the past, and I say we, I mean, in society in general, they talk about retirement and the three-legged stool. And each leg of that three-legged stool represents something. One of them is personal savings, one of them is Social Security, and one of them is a pension, which is not very prevalent. Less than 4% of companies out there provide a pension. I mean, the United States military doesn't even provide a pension anymore. They've gone to the blended retirement system, which is quintessentially a 401k. So a lot is riding on people's personal savings. And that's why sitting down with you and helping you map that out for people is so, so important. So talk a little bit about that, or maybe some of the other specific things that you can help people with.
Absolutely. Like setting up emergency funds. And we just talked about that. Proper protection from loss of income, long-term care protection, and even tax advantage strategies. And I think that's a big one. People don't even like the word taxes.
Isn't that the truth?
So now if we can actually give you some tax advantages where you don't actually have to come up with, you hear so many crazy ideas. Like there's people that actually have more kids just to get a tax benefit with the child taxes and things like that. I mean, it's silly the things that we go to these days just to get ahead and not have taxes taken out to where we get nothing back.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the long-term care that you just touched on, and the reason I bring that up is because when my mother got sick, she had to go into long-term care, and I actually the doctor told me, he said, Cameron, why don't you take your mom home, keep her comfortable, the time is coming, and I said, okay. I didn't know how long that was going to be. She ended up living for another about 2.5 years. And we had to pay somebody to come and stay with her, to feed her, to bathe her, because she lost a number of daily functions of living. We didn't have long-term care insurance in place for her. And that ended up costing our family over $300,000. Without long-term care, it could bankrupt or it could cripple somebody's family.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people don't know that you can get a long-term care rider inside of a life insurance policy, or you can get a standalone long-term. And that's one of the things that you can do as a life insurance person. So, if you're listening to this podcast, I would absolutely suggest sitting down with Kenny Dupree II here and making sure that you have mapped out a plan on that. I want to shift gears to talk about your passion, unless you have anything else you want to add on the long-term care piece. But really, what is it you're passionate about? And did that passion drive you to get into this financial professional business?
Yes, sir. I would say this. At the nucleus, I like helping people. I like helping others. And I believe that is one of my talents. And I've always been in a job where I've done customer service. I've helped people in the HR world and still doing the HR world with helping people. I believe this is one of the tools we can use that will actually give back and not only help you, but help the generations that come afterwards. If you could set up that foundation now, the people that comes after you, you'll be able to help. And that's one of the things I think is impacting our people's lives right now. And that can make a difference that goes well beyond what you can see.
So what you're telling me is that you're passionate about helping people, not selling them a product.
Absolutely. It's really about education.
Right.
Because if you're educated, what's the old saying about don't catch the fish for me, but actually teach me how to fish, I can catch my own fish. And I really believe that's what we're doing.
So that's what drew you to wanting to get into this profession, is just impacting people's lives and helping them.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. So let me ask this question, because I bet there's some listeners out there that are wondering, hey, Kenny, you're getting this license, you have this knowledge. What are you going to charge me to sit down in order to build a strategy or to come up with some options, to share that education? What do you charge a fee for that? How does that work?
I'm glad you asked that, because you did mention it earlier. And just in case anyone didn't catch it, no, there is no fees. We take a holistic approach, which I'm all about. And I believe in the whole person concept. So once again, we take that holistic approach to financial freedom that starts with education. So if you notice, we talked about finance, we talked about education. Those are actually part of the holistic. And I think that helps out in every other areas.
Awesome. I want us to take a break, and then we're going to come back. And when we come back on the next go around, I want to talk about an upcoming event that we're having, and also about some other events that people can actually tie into to get the information that you are providing them, the knowledge that you have. So we're gonna roll out of here, and then we come back. We're gonna talk a little bit more about the upcoming event. Kenny Dupree II.
Yes.
I appreciate you being on with us today.
Anytime.
And we'll be right back.